British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Welcome to Noon in the BCIT Newsroom. I'm Aiden Singh, and here's your headlines. Today marks the start of a coroner's inquest into the death of Matthew Scott Costin. He was 32 when he died while detained by a peace officer in May 2020. The inquest will be listening to testimonies from witnesses and runs until November 21st. In lighter news, keep your eyes open around town for Prime Minister Mark Carney today, as he'll be in Vancouver for 2 press conferences about local infrastructure projects in the new budget. Political analysts are speculating that Carney is announcing another BC development getting the green light from his Major Projects Office, which aims to speed up construction by cutting red tape. Carney has also vaguely alluded to building pipelines to the West Coast in the past. Looking south a little bit here, new data shows Canadians are continuing to shun out travel to the United States. Michelle Zadikian has more on the border.
October marked yet another month of year-over-year declines in Canadians returning from trips to the U.S. Statistics Canada's preliminary figures show Canadian resident return trips from the U.S. by car dropped nearly 31% in the month. Return trips by plane sank 24%. Instead, Canadians were traveling overseas. The number of trips returning from overseas countries rose roughly 7% in October. Michelle Zadikian, The Canadian Press.
Despite the trade and tourism hostilities, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu says that she's happy Nova Scotia is continuing a long-held tradition by providing a Christmas tree to the Massachusetts city. The province provides a Christmas tree every year to Boston to thank the city for helping Halifax after a 1917 explosion that killed nearly 2,000 people in the Halifax harbor. Wu says it's a tradition that reaffirms the friendship between her city and Nova Scotia.
I wanted to make sure that Canadians know Boston is open for everyone. We are welcoming to all. We strive to be a home for everyone in our community, every culture, every generation, and we hope to continue welcoming our friends from Canada and from around the world to come see what's so special about our community.
Wu says she wasn't sure if Nova Scotia would want to continue the trend given the current hostilities between the U.S. and Canada. The White House is accusing Democrats of selectively leaking emails from disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein to, quote, create a fake narrative, end quote, to smear U.S. President Donald Trump. Epstein wrote in a 2011 email that Trump had spent hours at Epstein's house with a victim of sex trafficking and said in a separate message years later that Trump, quote, knew about the girls. The emails made public by Democrats in the committee add to the question about Trump's friendship with Epstein, yet Trump continues to deny any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. Internationally now, President Trump has appealed to Israel's government to issue a pardon for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu has been accused of fraud and bribery, with his trial beginning before the war in Gaza in 2020. Israeli President Herzog is in charge of issuing pardons and says that a formal request needs to be submitted. ABC's Ian Pennell reports on the response.
In a statement, President Herzog responding that he holds President Trump in the highest regard, but that anyone seeking a pardon has to submit a formal request. And opposition leader Yair Lapid issuing a reminder that Israeli law stipulates that the first condition for receiving a pardon is an admission of guilt and an expression of remorse. Neither of those things have happened.
Coming back to BC now, looking at the weather, it's cloudy right now, meaning some light rain in the afternoon, but you'll quickly see how heavy that'll get. It's currently 9 degrees Celsius, but tonight you're going to expect wet socks and muddy shoes. Environment Canada has issued rainfall warnings for Howe Sound and Metro Vancouver's North Shore and Northeast, including Coquitlam and Maple Ridge. They report 40 to 60 millimeters of rainfall. Environment Canada warns drivers to prepare for low visibility conditions and hydroplaning, as well as potential landslides near steep hills. Thanks for listening. My name is Aiden Singh. You're tuned to BCIT News. Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Coming to tuck you in while you're sleeping. Sweet scream!
Halloween. It's a time for kids and adults to celebrate everything spooky and crazy. But what are the underlying factors of Halloween? That's the question that I'm asking.
What I think about Halloween is how people all dress up as a community, they have fun, they have good treats, and then they all come together.
I'm your host, Thomas Adams, here with my co-host, Jonah Jung, and today we will be discussing Halloween on this episode of The Deadly Discussion. And we will be looking at what kind of communities Halloween represents and builds. Welcome back to The Deadly Discussion. I'm your host, Thomas Adams,